And that odd-numbered prayer in the middle of the night is the best, odd number of bows, is the best time that, with the last bow, to rise and, lift your hands and say, in a position of supplication, as an extra matter, say what they call the qanut. And now this can be done with appropriate supplications that, you should direct your extra thing, your personal supplications and stuff like this, according to the principles that have been revealed and inspired. But Allahumma ahdini fiman hadaita wa athini fiman ataita wa tawallani fiman tawalaita wa barik li fima adaita wa qini shara ma qadhita fa anaka taqdi wala yukda alaik innahu la yaddalu man walaita wala yazu man adaita tabarakta rabbana wa ta'alaita. As an example, all divinity, lead me to the true faith of those you have guided, pardon me with those whom you have pardoned, protect me with those you have protected, bless for me what you have given me, keep me safe from evils you have ordained. It is you who decrees. It is not decreed upon you. No one under your care is brought down, and no one to whom you show enmity can be lifted up. O Lord, you are the most praised, the sublime. And other things can be recited. And then instead of the Sami Allahu liman hamidah Rabbana lakal hamd, you're saying this, and then Allahu Akbar, and you're going down to conclude your prayer. Because this has been you bow and then you rise, and so it's throwing that in as an extra, or instead of, you could say, and without break. If it's more than one, you pray it without the sitting in between break. Bow, prostrate. Prostrate, sit, bow, but not the sitting and the oriented position. And the standing at night prayer, and is like the Taraweeh. So the Taraweeh, or Qiyam al-Layl, is performed the same way, sets of two. And whoever performs such with congregation to the prayer, till the person leading the prayer leaves, then it's as if they prayed the whole night. The same is sort of narrated with the dusk prayer to begin with. So, but it's extra important to say things like this during Ramadan, as some people don't say it any other time other than that. And there's the guidance-seeking prayer, istikhara. And so you have a 2 rakat prayer, and you complete it with a private supplication. I believe there's more narrated than this, but Allahumma anni astaghfiruka bi ilmika wa astaghfiruka bi qudratika wa as'aluka min fadlika al-azim fa'naka taqdiru wala aqdiru wata lamu wala alamu wa anta alamu quyub alahuma in kunta ta'alamu anna thal amra, and the person makes the mention of the matter and the guidance to which they're seeking. Khairun li fi dani wama achi wa aktebata amri fakturhu li wa yasirhu li thumma barak lil fiha wain kunta ta lamu inna habal amra. At this point, the person makes the matter for which the guidance is sought. Sharun li fi dani wa ma ashi wa akabata amri fasrefu an-i wasrefni anhu waqtur li al-khaira haythu kana thumma ardeni behi. And this transliteration is a little bit difficult in part, so if I mess up, I'll refer to something with an Arabic text if there's more time to do extra programs to fulfill the 150 or 145 for this month here, Ramadan 1443. All divinity, I seek your guidance. Through your knowledge and power, I seek you of your great bounties. Your decree, I do not decree, and you know, and I know not. You are the knower of the invisible. O Lord, is it the Lord or is it all divinity? It's all divinity. If you know that this matter and, whatever it was you sought guidance for, is of benefit to me in religion, my livelihood, and in its outcome, decide it for me, and make it easy for me, and make it blessed for me. And if you know this matter, and then stating it, is bad for me, and my religion and my livelihood, and its outcome, turn it from me, and divert me from it, and decree good for me, whatever it may be, and make me pleased with it. Now, you're seeking God's guidance, so it is divination, but not divination in the terms of determinism of an oracle. People can interpret things symbolically all they want, but when they start saying that shuffling the deck of cards is the specific order is a specifically divinely ordained message for me, and its interpretation in a particular way is no. You put things into a spiritual context, and that's divination, but not divination in terms of the oracle is all knowing, or whatever people say in that respect. But basically, this is something that you deal with your own personal response in these issues. And so, Surah 2, 216. Kutiba alaykumul qitalu wa kurlakum wasan takrahu shay'an wa khairu lakum wasan tuhibu shay'an wa huwa sharrun lakum wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Fighting was prescribed for you, although it's not something you like, and perhaps you don't like something, and it's good for you, and perhaps you love a thing, and it's worse for you, and God knows, and truly you know not. So one of the things about stuff like that is that it's not according to what you personally like, you could say. And so, it's like when you're interpreting things, you want to interpret them based on what's, the revelation and the inspiration and what you could say, the science and stuff like this, rather than one's own personal whims. And, you're accepting, the guidance. It's not, well, I didn't get a good feel with this, so I'm not going to do what I knew what was right to begin with, or whatever. You should be a little more grounded. 65:3. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. And I'll provide him with what he doesn't anticipate. So if the other is, you got to accept your fate and not really make it completely about whether you like it or not. But oracle reading is entirely what people anticipate on one level or another, so it goes beyond that. And whoever puts his trust in God, then he'll be enough for him. God is one who reaches through his command. Certainly, God assigned a measure to everything. And a good oracle to begin with is kind of breaks up existence into different categories like that. And the funeral prayer. And there's certain rules and regulations. The bowing and the prostrating is not part of it. And if a person's sick, you make supplications for their recovery, supplications for their guidance and that sort of thing. Supplications, reading Quran, helping them, particularly Surah 36, or reciting it to them and helping them prepare for this moment of death. And regardless of the person dying, if you can get them to testify, La ilaha illallah, there's no God but God, do so. And if you can get them to also say, Muhammadah Rasulullah, Muhammadah Abduhu wa Rasuluhu, the God is that God's servant and messenger is Muhammad, messenger prophet. And if the person's legally a Muslim, then there can be a funeral prayer performed upon them. And a person seeks God's mercy upon the individual. And the living and the dead receive the respect. And so the washing of the body isn't done in a way more than what would be necessary had if the person was alive and needed help washing every once in a while. Of course, you could say it's a little bit more invasive than that, but it's in general, a male washes the male, the female washes the female, although a spouse can wash a spouse, and they're wrapped. A woman tends to be wrapped in 5 pieces. A man tends to be wrapped in 1 piece. If they're not a martyr, some perfume is put on the body, particularly the male. Of the male, is said. If there's not the water, or you're going to break up the body or something like that, then a dry ablution can be performed on the dead body. The tapping of its hands and maybe pulling the hand to cover the face or something. But and the women generally will stay out of the graveyard and funeral processions. And it's the tradition for them not to. And there's no call to prayer to get people to join, no adhan, and no to start. So the comma, that's not there. And the deceased is put with its head directed towards the prayer. And if it's a male, the middle part of the body. A female, the person leading the prayer would stand between the congregation and its head. And it's one, you stand once, and there's no bows or prostrating. God is the greatest. The the first chapter of the Quran, God is the greatest, some benedictions upon the Prophet, God is the greatest, and the benediction for the people, for the particular individual. Now, male differs between male and female, between child and adult. But we have Allahumma aghfir leh Iyana wa mayyitana wa shahidina wa qa'ibina wa saqirina wa kabirina wa dhakarina wa untha na Allahumma man ahyaytahu minna fahyahi alal Islam wa man tawafaituhu minna fatawaffahu alal iman. Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu wa afihi wa afu anhu wakrim nuzulahu wasa'e mudqalahu waqasilhu bil ma'a'e bil wadalaja wal barad wanaqehe minat dunube kama yunaqa thawbul abyadu minna danas wabadalhu daran khairan min darehi wabujan khairan min zawjaha wadkhilha jannata wa aidhu min adabal qabr wa adabal nar wafsalahu fil qabrhi wa nawar lahu fiha. And meaning, like all divinity, forgive those of us who are still alive and those who have passed away, those present and those who are absent, and are young and the elderly and the male and the female lots. All divinity, whomever thou wishes to keep alive from amongst us, help make them live according to Islam, and whomever thou wishes to die from among us, let him die in the state of being a believer, with faith. All the divinity, forgive him and have mercy upon him, and keep him safe from the sound, and excuse him from his faults, and grant him respectable place in the heavens, in the paradise of the hereafter, and make his grave spacious, and wash him with water, snow, and ice, and purify him of all his sins, like a piece of white cloth is cleared from dust, and grant him a new house better than his previous home, and a family better than his previous family, and a wife better than his previous wife, and allow him to enter the paradise and protect him from the torture of the grave and of the hellfire. Now, if a person's joined in the afterlife by their spouse that has done well, and they have done well, then that's, and a person can do the funeral prayer in absentee, and the funeral prayer for a baby that has spent 4 months in the womb, and died without being born, that can also be prayed. And Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, is how you complete that prayer. And the other supplications involve that the person's forerunner, and you would say a different form of each of the things, as I said, depending on whether we're talking a boy or a girl or a man or a woman. And by woman, we're talking 13 in puberty, and 15 in puberty for a male would be the general wisdom. And it's best to do the burial in, by day. So a funeral prayer done in the afternoon, but sometimes the funeral prayer is done after the burial, but preferably it's done before the burial. And